Germany and France say they will work with the rebel forces now in control of Syria after ousting the country's president. That decision coming as Western countries, including the United States, debate how and if they can work with those rebels. Many of them are part of groups the U.S. and its allies designate as terrorist organizations. Let's talk more about this now with Wisconsin Republican Congressman and retired Navy SEAL Derrick Van Orden. Sir, good morning to you. Thanks for being with me.
You bet, and good morning to you.
Congressman, I wanted to start with this, just for starters. President Biden and President-elect Trump, they're both applauding the fact that Assad is out, but both are taking very different approaches over how much the U.S. should be involved in Syria moving forward. Who's right here, and what approach should be taken?
Well, let's look at history. Joe Biden has the most abysmal record of foreign policy endeavors of really any American president in history, and that goes back to when he was in the Senate. So he has failed to make a single foreign policy decision that has turned out well. President Trump, on the other hand, was the first president in living memory that didn't get us involved in another military conflict, and he completely destroyed ISIS. So if I was like a gambling guy, I would bet on President Trump, not President Biden.
As I mentioned off the top, there have been celebrations across Syria, celebrations across the world. Trump has come forward and said the United States should stay out of this mess. Moving forward, let's talk about that leadership vacuum there, though, right now. Do you fear about who and what comes next in Syria?
Well, I'm not really afraid of a lot of stuff. I mean, it's a function of my former vocation. But if we look at what happened in Afghanistan, there was great celebrations when the Taliban fell. Now it's a disaster. If we look at Iraq, there's great celebrations after Saddam Hussein fell, and now it's a disaster. If we look at Libya, there's great celebrations and after Muammar Gaddafi fell, and now it is a disaster. So yes, we should not be looking at this like this is a golden opportunity for democracy to come to the Middle East. So we have to have a collective memory longer than a gnat. And this is not going to turn out well. I'm just calling the ball right now.
There are thousands of military troops stationed across the Middle East, thousands in Syria. What does this mean for them?
Well, it means they're going to be at war for a long period of time. I want to be very clear. Assad was a dictator, and he was horrible to his people. So there are a group of folks that should be celebrating the fact that he is no longer in power. But we have to understand that we have emboldened Islamic extremists for a long period of time, and we have to protect two equities. One is our Israeli allies, and the second one are the Kurds that have been fighting with us against these Islamic extremists for decades.
Before I let you go, just because this is all happening on Capitol Hill today with Tulsi Gabbard visiting, the rebel takeover of Syria putting a spotlight on her. She's Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence. Do you have any concerns about her past positions on Syria and Assad, which some feel disqualify her to take on that role?
I would love it if everybody now Googles Nancy Pelosi sitting across the room from Assad. So, no, I don't. I think that's foolish. I think this is the deep state that are very, very concerned that you have a current National Guard Army officer who has served in combat getting into a position where she is going to be able to make sure that we sweep the table from all of this crazy stuff we've been doing for decades, because she understands from a personal perspective what bad decision-making looks like in foreign policy, because she has fought for her country in uniform.
Yeah, if you were a senator, she'd be getting your confirmation vote. Congressman,
I'd pour her a cup of coffee.
And pour her a cup of coffee. Congressman Derrick Van Orden, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your service. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.